Where I'll start with this is legendary music producer Timbaland is getting a whole lot of headlines right now and made a pretty what's become a very controversial announcement about launching an AI record label. Okay, so this is stage zero, and this is a new genre of music, A-pop, right? So artificial intelligence pop, and he's going to be rolling out music with the featured AI artist TaTa. And so what's been interesting to watch is that we've been covering the evolution of AI generative music and how AI in general has made its way into your guys' music creation process. And so when I saw this announced, it's kind of in line with a lot of things that have been happening, but the response has been very intense. And so we've been kind of watching this because Timbaland has engaged in the conversation. So he's been going live. I can offer as well kind of my perspective, being a law firm owner and dealing with all kinds of creatives across the board and tech companies who are all about the AI. For example, where I'll start is, our friend Fantano, he dropped, a video, and the title of it talking about this was AI is evil. And I feel like that is very much the sentiment across the board in reaction to what Timbaland is doing and saying that this is inherently evil and that it is taking away from creatives. And the biggest one I kept seeing is, why aren't you, Timbaland, just signing an artist? You have an endless sea of talent and creatives. So why are we going to create something that's not real? So I'll start there. Initial thoughts.
Well, I have to, of course, just mention that Timbaland is one of the greatest songwriters and producers of my generation. Like, he's incredible. I mean, he shaped so much of our musical experience, from everything from Missy Elliott, Aaliyah, Justin Timberlake, Nelly Furtado, Ashley Simpson, the Timbaland and Magoo stuff.
Him coming out and saying something and doing something, right? He's not the first guy to do this.
He's not the first guy to try to do this. He's not the first guy to incorporate AI in the stuff. We've talked about how Drake was using AI for diss tracks, and just different artists have been using it. It's been controversial, but Timbaland is such a huge voice. He's such a important creator. He's such a important songwriter and producer, such an influence. When he says something, people listen. There was a lot of controversy just when he started speaking up for Suno and becoming a part of that. We have to remember that Suno was it's been around for maybe a little over a year. I don't even know at this point, not very long. And the technology just keeps getting crazier and crazier. He definitely holds influence. He has a lot of people that are just excited to work with him and just to be a part of anything.
He holds there's a higher
He holds a higher influence. If dude, just some random guy in our community starts an AI label, no one's going to know about it. Nobody's going to care. But Timbaland's going to get something placed. Timbaland's going to get ears on it. People are going to be looking to him to see if this thing works or not. I do want to give him credit for facing the criticism that has been swift and it has been intense. And he has at least responded to it. He has sat there and he listens to people. It's kind of distracting when he's sitting there eating Cheez-Its and stuff. He's paying attention. He's listening. But I mean, just to sit there and just from artist after artist, from comment after comment, it's very difficult to find something positive about what's going on. And so I do want to acknowledge that. That being said,
there's a bigger conversation, right? Generally with the lawsuits, right? We know major record labels are suing Suno and Udio for copyright infringement, all kinds of things, right? So there's you never got permission, you don't respect creator rights, and now you're trying to hide behind fair use. We don't think fair use applies. But I mean, my first thought when I saw this is I feel like Timbaland is almost playing us. I go, is he just saying, oh, it's an AI label and he's going to still produce music, do what he does? It's not AI music necessarily, but he's going to have an AI avatar. And I go, okay, well, if that's the case, right? And you guys comment down below. If it's an AI avatar, right, is it just as bad? Does it make any difference whatsoever in that now you are not having to deal with an artist? But technically, if you are having an artist working in the background, we've seen this happen where there are background singers, background musicians, right? The real artists, the real performers, and then you have someone who is pretending on the front. In this case, the pretender would
Music
be AI.
Factory, Milli Vanilli, all these things. But I mean, there's still a human at the end of the line that's getting paid. I see a lot of the comments of, we listen to music freely and I'm inspired. What's the difference if AI trains on everything? I'm training on music right now. I'm listening to the radio and I'm training on it. If I listen to this and I create something, well, that's all great. I think Fantano put it super simple when he said that there's a paper trail. There's a paper trail if you sample. If you sample, you have to pay for that sample. If you interpolate a song, you have to pay for that interpolation or all these things. And not that these lawsuits sale can't be brought up if an artist is claiming that your song that you generated was Suno. Is like, well, hey, I never told it to do this Fleetwood Mac song. I said I wanted something that was kind of adult, temporary, soft rock, 70s, female male voice, harmonies, the keys of this tempo. It just gave me Landslide. It gave me something that sounded very much like Landslide. You got to sue Suno. You can't sue me. I just did my Google search and printed it out.
Well, doesn't mean you're not going to get sued. That's a separate
but that's my
conversation.
point.
But
It doesn't mean that you're not, but I'm saying, but there's a paper trail of people that were songwriters and people that are getting paid when this is happening. There's swifter consequences. I think that when you're bringing stuff against and with these AIs, because we haven't seen it yet. At least I haven't. I think it's going to get more complicated, and I think it's going to get more interesting, especially as we see what's happening with the Copyright Office and all this other stuff. It's going to get real interesting.
Speaking of the Copyright Office, right? So they released this report, and it's part 3 of their copyright series talking about artificial intelligence. And part 3 is artificial intelligence training. And they're like, well, is it fair use? Meaning, if you do the thing, if you just take the stuff and you train, it's copyright infringement, but can you be justified in it, right? So that's the fair use doctrine. You get away with it if it's fair use. Is it transformative? Well, what's the purpose? How much was used? All those kinds of things. One thing that the Copyright Office mentioned was that the volume of how much has to be trained on is the difference. So going back to one of the things we hear a lot, which is I can just go and listen to a bunch of songs. The AI can just go and listen to a bunch of the songs. What's the difference? Well, the Copyright Office is like, well, the difference is that in order for AI to train, it needs a lot. It needs tens of millions in most cases. We also know Suno and Udio admitted in their answers in these lawsuits that they in fact went and trained on tens of millions of songs. So if that's the case, we go, that's not the same as a human. You don't retain that. You don't create copies in your neural network. So there is a difference in fact. But going back to this, I go, okay, so what's this going to be, right? So TaTa, what's the experience going to be? What are they trying to do here? In that she's going to be an avatar, and we hear people being like, well, what about Gorillaz? They had their moment of their cartoons.
So if your argument is, I'm just trying to create this aesthetic and I just, I can't afford an animator, so I'm creating these things. And I mean, hey, look, I can buy some animation program and it has templates. Hey, on my phone, it has AI cartoon character avatars. And I get it. It gets complicated. But I will say that my biggest fear about everything with AI, and we mentioned earlier on the show, lawsuits where lawyers are using AI and citing fake case law. We've heard already about the government that has been using AI and ChatGPT to write some reports up, and there's citing fake records and stuff, and there's formatting errors or whatever. My fear is in 10 years, the human experience is going to be so different. History is going to be changed because now we're just taking whatever AI and ChatGPT as fact as we incorporate it more into education and these kind of things and using it. And sometimes the facts are right, sometimes the facts are wrong. And we have the new generation that's just used to this AI thing that's just incorporated from the beginning. So they won't really know. I mean, if their parents are good, they'll teach them the difference maybe and show them real, like human created music. I just don't want human created music to become a boutique item. I don't like the idea of sync licensing already taking a major hit, because if I'm a music supervisor or I'm an editor and I don't even need a music supervisor. If I'm an editor and I'm sitting there editing a scene in some movie, why can't I just go hop over to Suno, prompt something, and then I just destroy that? And all of our emotional experiences are now connected with AI.
To the extent that we're holding Timbaland kind of accountable, and he's the standard, and he's supposed to lead and protect human-made stuff and that kind of thing. How much does he understand? Well, I think that if you're going to say, I am launching not only an AI record label, but you are in fact the creative advisor for Suno, I would guess he probably very much understands how this works, and I hope that he has looked into it. But here's the thing. The Feel button had asked, what's an AI label? I do want to distinguish this, okay? Because I start record labels for you guys all the time, right? So what's the process? We start an LLC, we get an operating agreement for you and your partners, right? We, register your trademarks, and we do all the things to actually launch and keep you legally protected. But then strategize so we can launch your stuff, distribution, music marketing, all that. So what's the difference with an AI label? The huge difference is going to be ownership. And if I was Timbaland's attorney and I was talking with him, I go, okay, let's talk about this, because what are the pieces of this multimedia that you're launching that you're not going to be able to get copyright ownership in? What's the biggest downside of this besides what we're talking about, which is the protection of creative rights? And basically, do we want to dumpster fire onto this and be like, yeah, open the floodgates? Who cares? Conversely, is this even a smart move for you guys? Is this a smart move for Timbaland? If we go, you're not going to have copyright ownership if you're TaTa, Meaning, if she is 100% AI generated, you don't have copyright ownership in those images, in the videos that you're gonna create. And so that makes it less valuable. You don't have a copyright to sell. Anyone can come and steal that. You cannot enforce under copyright laws. That's a really interesting part of this of, does that make sense? Because you know what? Timbaland's a businessman.
His interest in this, his interest in Suno, the money that he makes from Suno, whatever his participation is, profit wise or whatever, this becoming successful and him pushing this message is good for him. Like, as far as that, while there's a very vocal sect of the community and I'm just going to say humanity that is ethically kind of against this for kind of what it is, there's a whole other side that's huge for this, that loves the idea. I think AI is a fun tool, like a video game kind of thing. And there was a comment on here from Eli that says, AI cannot emote emotions. It's getting better and better. I'm going to tell you a little really fast story. Yesterday, I had my friend come over. He hears about AI, but he doesn't really know what AI music is, right? He's like, oh, I'm sure you could tell what it is. I pulled him up Suno from when I was first messing with it in Udio from like a year ago. And I showed him some stuff that it was capable of then. I just wanted to show him how it works, because as this is a big conversation, we were just talking, like, do you know about all the stuff that's going on? He was jaw dropped, like, oh my God. And the first thing he said was, like, cool, like, it's like, oh, this makes me want to write an album real fast. Like, I can do this. And it's diluting. But I don't think we're going to put the genie back in the bottle. AI is here. This technology is out there. Something's got to happen though, because humans, we cannot go against our own interests so much.
I've seen this before. So, Timbaland's doing this. It's all about the money, right? I would love Timbaland to answer that question, because you know what? I think that if it really is, I'm trying to just kind of be a part of this tech revolution. That's what's happening. It's not just in the United States. This is around the world. We're covering what's happening in other countries as they're trying to open the floodgates for AI companies. And they're like, you know what, creators, you're standing in the way. You're standing in the way. You're bothering us with all this licensing nonsense. And what's been interesting is that I'm seeing people really pissed about the fact that, major record labels are having discussions potentially to settle, with Suno and Udio. And they're like, the thing I'm surprised by the most, that they're like, we think retroactively giving licenses is opening the floodgates. So it's not so much of like, we should get paid. It's, we're pissed because you are agreeing to the infringement. And I think that's interesting, because like, a big part of the conversation has been, well, if there was unauthorized training, unauthorized uses, and they should have licensed. If everyone's game, right? If you want to license your stuff for AI training, right? Music distributors are asking you to do this. They're like, we'll pay you some money, maybe, if we ever get paid. And so the distributors are letting you guys opt in to give permission. If you give permission, it's all over. But obviously the big thing here with Suno and Udio is that they didn't give permission. And they're like, when they got caught, they go, yeah, we did it, but we're going to try to hide behind fair use. And it's not looking so good about what's going to happen, because the Copyright Office itself came out with a report that's over 100 pages long and said, we don't think it's fair use either.
I like this comment. I'm so sick of the attitude that modern music is bad anyway. There's always been bad and good music. I seek out the stuff that is good, and I never run out of stuff to find. This comment is so relevant, especially to me, because that is that attitude. That music is trash. The new music, it all sounds the same. Well, you're not searching. There's never been more artists. There's never been more creative, independent artists than ever. There's never been so many independent artists that can compete with major label artists with quality, talent, showing with marketing. I mean, these major record labels are taking cues from independent artists all the time. We've already shown how like Spotify and some of these major labels are changing their whole process so they can follow the indie model more. I love this comment. Don't give up on humans. Don't give up on us, man. I'm not all against AI tech and all this stuff. Like, I get it, but I am against kind of going completely against our own interests and killing the human experience.
Back to TaTa. I'm real interested on this because, again, the impression I got from the announcement was that TaTa is the avatar. And I've heard this before. I'm a lawyer. I run a law firm. And so I have a lot of clients who are experimenting with using AI in their process, from ChatGPT to get the idea of the theme, and then, putting together some lyrics, or your lyrics are 100% yours. And then you go into Suno to demo your song, because then you're going to go hire a producer. So you want to give the producer a very close example of what your stuff hopefully will sound like. So you're using it in that way. The new wrinkle is that there's fingerprinting on Suno and Udio. So now they're tracking your stuff. And I go, well, what's going to happen if you created the song on Suno, but really you just input to get some ideas, and then you had someone else make it from scratch? Well, now there's going to be a conflict. And Suno and Udio And the fingerprinting is on other platforms
Yeah.
as well. So it's gonna be interesting because we're seeing even you guys filing your copyright applications. This was literally this week. One of you was telling me that you got, rejections. And you're dealing with the Copyright Office being like, we identified some AI part of what you filed. They now have their own tech to figure out what you have done. So you got to be careful. And that's all I'm saying. I go in this entire process because we're talking about an extreme. Timbaland is doing an AI label. Let's pretend it's not even what I'm saying. It's actually AI music. It's an AI artist. The whole thing is AI. And, my comment, I'm like, well, that's probably not even a good business model for you, PS.
Right.
But setting that aside, ultimately, you're going to run into problems now to monetize it because also we saw Landr a week ago. They're announcing that they're going to demonetize any of your music that's made with AI, and they're not going to pay you. So actually, you're getting dinged for using AI.
And that wasn't even just, let's be clear, that wasn't even just AI. That was if you're using splice samples. You're also
that was the other huge part, which is actual music
so
producers are getting
watch the Landr,
advantage of.
watch our video on Landr. Like, it's crazy. Brandon, I heard these majors are making AI labels too. I wouldn't doubt it. So here's my also thing about Timbaland. He's not the devil. He's not whatever. He's the first. He's the one. He's the biggest right now. He's the guy is taking the first thing of heat. Every major label is watching the reaction to Timbaland and softening the blow for when they drop all their stuff. And it'll probably be super quiet. That will be one of those things where a song will go big, a little investigative research, you follow the paper trail, you realize it's a UMG label and they are an imprint of that they did in AI. I wouldn't doubt it. Why wouldn't they? We've already reported last year that they are in works of developing their own AI stuff. They're having in their contracts for new artists that they are going to opt in for their own AI training. They're doing their own things. I even argue that's why their main problem with Suno and Udio is because of the fact that they're developing their own and they don't want the competition, which is why that you're hearing the rumors of the talks of them being in negotiations for getting a piece of Suno and Udio. Hey, let's just combine our tech, bro. Make no doubt about it. It's the best time to be independent and stay independent and to figure out your stuff because you can't trust these companies. The next step is figuring out distributors because that's a whole other demon. We got to figure out a way to sidestep these distributors and be able to release. And please, Spotify, put us on there. Give us a chance. I'd rather pay a monthly fee to Spotify to have my music on there than go through a distributor. Like,
once upon a time, we were able to directly upload.
That way, lickety split because it didn't work for the labels and they wanted to get a piece of Spotify and they didn't make sure they got it. And we did a report. I don't remember which one it was, but the companies that are buying up some of these indie distributors and some of these ways that the independents, the major labels are buying up the ways that you are collecting money. I don't recall if it was like Song Trust, but it was like something like that they're buying up and they're just trying to get all of your revenue streams. It's all about the third party middleman, man.
Okay, devil's advocate though, So I posted about this on Top Music Attorney on Instagram today, right? And so one of the comments was AI is amazing. For music, it's a dream. As an artist, you can build something. I can do my next album. So for those of you who are using AI to be able to express yourselves for the first time, because maybe you don't classify yourself as a musician. You're not a producer. You're a lyricist. You write lyrics. And so you have a way to express the type of art that you make. And maybe you're a producer. Maybe you are not wanting to show your face. And so you love this idea of having an avatar. So you don't have to show up because you don't want to do the social media, right? That's not your thing. What about that?
Yes. So like I'm thinking of groups like Daft Punk. You mentioned the Gorillaz earlier. I'm thinking about these artists that have a Deadmau5. Or thinking about artists that, hide under their own different kind of avatars or animations or masks, or that's the way to go. It's a lot easier to wear a mask sometimes and do these things because it sucks taking photos. Like it does doing all that stuff sometimes personally. Because as we've seen over the last few years, it's more about being a brand than it is just being an artist. My favorite artists when they were coming up, the only way that you could know about them is by going to the local supermarket or music store and picking up a magazine and reading about it, staying up late night at 1 o'clock, 2 a.m. and hopefully they'll do an interview on MTV. Now, what your favorite artist ad nauseum has for breakfast. There's so much access to it.
So guys, when we talk about mechanical royalties, mechanical because back in the day we had to actually copy, right? So there was like a process to make copies of cassettes, CDs, vinyls, all that stuff. So anyway, side note, basically someone was just making, the point about to make really good AI music, you have to do more than just put in prompts, right? So it's this argument that if you rework it and you put in additional prompts, right? Even Timbaland, right? Back to Timbaland. He had said, I saw the path, but I had to wait till everything caught up, apparently sitting there 10 hours a day experimenting with the platform. And so there's an argument that it is an art form in itself to be able to work the AI. And we saw in China, for example, as one of these countries where limited, very
Yeah.
limited, but they did have a copyright registration where the user had reprompted it something like hundreds of times. And so they go in this instance, right? There was creative input, therefore it was entitled to copyright registration. But again, are we just trying to make fetch work here?
Yeah, I think so. These companies and all these things are trying to justify what's happening with whatever they can. I saw a comment here going that we shouldn't be like Lars and Napster and stuff. And I argue that Lars had a pretty good point. So I just want to see people that are working hard and doing their thing be paid for their art fairly, compensated fairly.
I think vinyl has absolutely had its moments. People love the tangible. That's the other piece
Oh,
of like promoting digital download. Yeah,
I just buy. I literally have a one that I just again. I buy stuff when so I actually just bought.
So, but that's a good point, right? There's some people who argue they're like things are going to get pushed so far with social media, and people are so sick of seeing lies. So, just meaning seeing the polish, seeing the highlight reels, and now you literally are not sure in what you're seeing if it's true. Like you were showing me something, and it was just so bizarre. You're like, I think this is AI. It must be AI, and it looked fine. It looked human made to me, but we don't know. So I think that there may be an overcorrection coming at some point because people will be so sick of something that isn't human made, isn't authentic. And that's good because I think those of you who are independent artists, for example, and you're making your own stuff and you kind of just are purists and you don't want to touch AI whatsoever, I think there's an opportunity for you to win if that overcorrection happens.
Just keep focusing on that. To your point of people that are using AI and really spending hours and prompting and doing all of these things, I understand that. I agree 100%. Like just because you put in a quick prompt doesn't mean you're going to get something great coming out. There's an art form to anything. You are curating a song, essentially. I think of some of that AI prompting more as just music curating more than songwriting. Maybe I'll come around in a few years. That's where I'm at right now. You can't go, well, on this form, how many prompts did you use? Did you use 50 prompts or did you just use the one prompts? Because it's all the same. You can break down the minutia, but when it comes to regulations, laws and stuff, that's got to be very clear. All these artists, it's all the same. Now, like if you are using it for sampling, some people just use it and then they'll sample it. You have to watch out for that fingerprinting when you're sampling because you might get marked AI. It's the same as sampling. And that's all fine. I guess my problem is I just want to make sure that the people that spent their lives, even if they were signed and they were fortunate enough to get signed, that they had a hard enough time making money. And just any tech company, any group of people that want to do whatever they want, and it's just a free for all, and they can just take your intellectual property, do whatever they want with it. We've seen this in comedy. We've seen this in different aspects. We're obviously the Top Music Attorney podcast, so we focus on the music industry, but this is happening across all industries, obviously. I don't think there's a lot too much. There's obviously a subtle difference, but I think when you're talking about it as a subject, you can't go, well, I spend 2 hours and make on it, and so I makes me different from the person that does one prompt. It's all the same thing, man. We're talking about the same thing. So yes, there's subtle nuances, and we could talk about those case by case. What do you think of that?
My job is to interpret the law. This is what I would say. I go, does copyright law allow for what this is? That's the important piece. The answer is there is a way towards that. So the comic book is my favorite example of this, and I'll come back to this comment. But so there was a comic book that was made with AI that was allowed to register for US copyright protection, and all the images were made with AI. However, because a human came in and put the images in order and compiled the book around it and all that, it was entitled to registration, which is the baseline rule. If your thing is 100% AI made, you don't get copyright registration. If it's made in conjunction with your human authored creative contributions, it is subject to protection. So I go, there's no hard line. Even according to the Copyright Office, there's no hard line. And where I was going with this is I go, so AI will own all the IP. Well, no, as of right now, there aren't AI laws. The Copyright Office talked about this and said, do we need AI laws? And the Copyright Office said no. The Copyright Office, in so many words, just said the copyright laws right now protect creatives, and it does what it needs to do in reaction to AI. AI is doing just fine.
And then the person that wrote that got fired. As far as that goes, we don't know what's going to happen. They're putting stuff in the bill where they don't want states, I'm hearing, to change and have the right to change any like the AI policies or regulations for like 10 years. Depending on what happens, and even what happens, we cover what happens in the UK because of what, like that Berne Convention stuff or whatever, where something happens and it'll set precedent also for everywhere. It's not just the US. There's different things that can affect and set precedent for what happens here. Talk about that for a second.
What Orko is referring to is the Berne Convention. It's an international treaty. There's like 170 countries a part of this, but basically it's reciprocity. If in the United States, I have a copyright registration and one of the other countries that are in this Berne Convention treaty violates my copyright, I can have reciprocity of my copyright protection in that country, right? So basically, I can't have any lesser or better rights anywhere else, and that's kind of what happens here. So that's a good thing. I guess kind of bringing this kind of back around on with AI songs and the fact that really what we're saying is that we're devaluing creator songs, right? Human made stuff to get a license because no one's licensing it. There's an existing market, and AI companies are saying, let's just come in, let's just train. We shouldn't have to do any of this stuff. But also, what I'm saying is that if we go, cool, Timbaland is the first, right? He's a trailblazer. And other producers and musicians and stuff like that are going to do their own iteration of this. They're going to have their little AI avatars. They're going to have their record labels, whatever. As someone who deals in AI law and specifically intellectual property, I don't know that I would advise you to do that. I think that you are going to pay the price of going down this route, which is, quite frankly, it sounds like you guys just don't want to deal with artists. They're such a headache. You have to pay them. They're so annoying. Well, maybe even to a degree.
That
If
narrative.
that's how you feel. If that's how you feel, it's how you feel. But what I'm saying is that if this really is like a money play, I just go right now, AI is not valuable. It's not valuable compared to human made stuff. So consider that.
Valuable, not valuable. Whether or not his AI label is successful, whether or not he even really cares about having an AI label and an AI artist. He is promoting Suno and he's getting money from Suno. This could just be something that he really truly has no intention to doing. This is just a marketing play that he's doing to bring more attention to it, to cause the controversy and bring it up. He's done that. I mean, I hope the juice was worth the squeeze. That could be absolutely an option. I don't know. AI still can't perform live. I see that. And listen, I say that it can. We had somebody commenting on the hologram. We have the Gorillaz. You could put a screen in front of you and have a projection of the AI thing. You could do like a Yo Gabba Gabba thing where you have people like in costumes. It's a big giant caricature of something like that, which I don't recommend. It gets hot in those suits. There's ways. And if a song is big enough and the money is there, they're going to find a way. I think Timbaland is, like you said, the first. It's going to be like a domino effect. There's a lot of people that are seeing this, that saw that, wow, you could do this. Wow, let's do that. I guarantee that's already inspired things. We know how some of these streaming platforms are playing out. It's a pool of money. All this stuff is diluting. We've covered different AI artists that are just flooding the Spotify and how that's diluting royalties.
All right, guys, so leave a comment down below. Do you think Timbaland's a sellout or is he a trendsetter for the tech industry? Leave a comment down below. We'll see you on the next one.